Relationship between John Gotti and Thomas Tommy Karate Patera. Tommy Karate was an infamous gangster and enforcer for the Bonanno crime family who is said to have been responsible for up to 60 murders according to law enforcement. Over time, there has been a few different members of Cosa Nostra, such as Roy DeMeo, Anthony Gaspipe Casso, and even Sammy the Bull, who have been considered to be mob serial killers for their ruthlessness and the sheer number of victims said to have died at their hands. Although in Sammy the Bull's case, he admitted to 19 murders, but is only known to have actually committed 2 with his own hands. Unlike Tommy Karate, who was more hands-on with his victims. As far as DeMeo, Gaspipe, and Tommy Karate, they were all very capable men who were willing to do whatever it took to make sure their hits could not be linked back to them, including chopping up and dismembering their bodies, to make sure they could dispose of their remains, and to avoid bringing heat down on themselves or the crime family. Before I get into the relationship between Gotti and Patera, let me first give you a little background on who Thomas Tommy Karate Patera was, according to numerous sources. The nickname Tommy Karate came about from Patera's love and passion for martial arts. It's said Patera studied martial arts and took his craft very seriously and even fought professionally for a time and won several matches, destroying his competition. Tommy's love for martial arts even carried on through his segue into organized crime. Karate was born December 2nd, 1954 in Gravesend, Brooklyn. As a young child, Thomas Karate was bullied and picked on by kids in the neighborhood and at school, which made Patera an angry and sadistic person as an adult. It's said he endured years of physical and mental abuse from his bullies until Thomas found his passion for martial arts. After Karate began his karate classes in junior high school, he started gaining his confidence back and was no longer a shy and timid kid. When Thomas was young, he also always admired and looked up to the neighborhood wise guys hanging around the various social clubs throughout Gravesend and admired the respect and money the gangsters had and received. Karate returned to Brooklyn in 1976 from a scholarship to study the martial arts in Japan, and upon his arrival he started to frequent different pubs and bars in Gravesend, often finding himself surrounded by different gangsters and goodfellas, and ultimately got his introduction through a Bonanno crime family member by the name of Anthony Bruno Indelicato, and started working with Anthony, helping him with the drug operations he was running for the Bonannos, and eventually gained some notoriety through the Bonanno family by collecting different debts for them, using his karate skills to his advantage. Patera, along with Indelicato, would bring their drugs into the U.S. from sources in Canada. On top of the drug business and debt collection business, Anthony Bruno Indelicato was also an enforcer for the Bonanno crime family and was given a lot of the Bonanno family's murder contracts, and Tommy Karate would take interest in Indelicato's hitman work and began studying the art of killing. One book found in Karate's home upon his arrest was called How to Kill, which was basically a study guide series on how to get away with murder. Other books found in his home consisted of different methods of torture to extract information, as well as books on dissecting and dismembering bodies to help avoid detection and being caught by law enforcement. Tommy Karate was said to be a truly psychotic man. Karate's methods of killing was just as similar to the DeMeo crew's Gemini method, in the sense that Karate also liked dismembering his victims limb by limb and draining their blood in the bathtub in order for proper disposal. Now getting back to Tommy Karate's connection to John Gotti. As it turns out, Gotti would end up being an instrumental figure in Karate's mob career for the fact that Tommy Karate's first hit, which would ultimately get him made with the Bonanno family, was actually a retaliation hit for John Gotti. John Gotti's longtime friend and Gambino associate, Wilfred Willie Boy Johnson, turned out to be cooperating with the FBI and the New York City Police Department, giving up information on John Gotti, his brothers, and other members of organized crime, and the penalty for Willie Boy Johnson's actions had to be met with death, and so Gotti did what he was supposed to do and put the green light on Johnson's head. Gotti put the hit out through a Gambino capo named Edward Lino, who then delegated it to Tommy Karate and Vincent Kojak Guillotino. Karate was handed an envelope containing Willie Boy Johnson's name, picture, and location, and on August 29, 1988, Karate ambushed Johnson outside of his apartment in Flatlands, Brooklyn, while he was on his way to his car, and lit him up, hitting Johnson 6 times in his head and torso. And this hit would get Karate recognized by Bonanno consigliere Anthony Spiro, who proposed Karate to become a made man with the Bonannos and was given his own crew to run. Karate's crew became notorious for robbing drug dealers, as well as moving large amounts of cocaine, heroin, and marijuana. And like I spoke about before, Karate's crew was also known for committing many contract killings for the crime family, as well as a lot of personal murders too. Eventually, Tommy Karate would be charged with 7 murders and charged in connection to the drug dealing crew he was running, ultimately securing Patera a life sentence in prison. Frank Ganji, another member of Cosa Nostra, testified against Karate at trial for a lesser sentence. Patera is serving out the remainder of his life sentence at United States Prison McCreary in Pine Knot, Kentucky. Years later, in March of 2001, at the trial of Anthony Spiro, one of Spiro's associates and member of the Bath Avenue crew, testified that while he and other members of the Bath Avenue crew were out to eat at a restaurant, they witnessed a meeting between Gambino boss John Gotti and underboss Sammy the Bull Gravano with the Bonanno capo Tommy Karate Patera, where the men were said to be discussing the hit on Wilford Willie Boy Johnson. The man who testified from the Bath Avenue crew said in his testimony when they noticed the 3 men seated together, they sent over a bottle of champagne from, quote, the boys on Bay 23rd. The man went on to say he later learned that Tommy Karate was lent out by the Bonannos as a favor to the Gambino boss John Gotti to help him exact revenge on his old friend turned government cooperator, Willie Boy Johnson. Willie Boy Johnson was spilling the family secrets since 1966. Gotti was also said to be good friends with Joe Massino, who was boss of the Bonanno family at the time that Karate executed Willie Boy Johnson on behalf of Gotti. Tommy Karate, a.k.a. Thomas Patera, 35 years old at the time, was among 20 members arrested in a drug and murder ring in New York, stating that members of the Bonanno crime family, including Karate, were responsible for at least 7 murders, in which some of the victims' bodies were dismembered and buried on a bird sanctuary. The article went on to say Tommy Karate headed the crew and was responsible for at least 30 murders, one of them being Wilford Willie.
Can you tell me what's happened in the last 200 years? Just a quick rundown. This isn't real, right?
Was responsible for at least 30 murders, one of them being Wilford Willie Boy Johnson. During the arrest, police seized more than 60 guns, a different array of knives, along with saw blades, and a couple of different murder manuals and pamphlets. According to the U.S. attorney overseeing the case, it was alleged that Patera would package the various body parts and limbs in plastic bags and suitcases after dismemberment and would then bury them in a Staten Island bird sanctuary. Karate used the sanctuary as his personal graveyard for 3 years before it was discovered by DEA agents, where agents went on to find 6 buried bodies. Law enforcement officials found an AK-47, an AR-15, multiple shotguns, carbines, as well as multiple handguns. Among the books found were a 5-set series titled How to Kill, a book called The Hitman's Handbook, and a torture manual teaching different methods of torture from all over the world. Besides what we know about the Willie Boy Johnson hit, and although we know there was a relationship developed between Tommy Karate and John Gotti, unfortunately there isn't too many detailed accounts of any meetings that took place between the 2 men. We do know that it was from that hit on Willie Boy Johnson executed by Tommy Karate on behalf of John Gotti that Karate made his bones and became a made man, and etched Tommy Karate's name into the Cosa Nostra history books. All of the information provided to you is what I believe to be true based on my research and according to various different sources, which is all public information available to you.